Like, I think we kind of have this image of 19 kids and counting. It's like that massive Mormon family that had 19 kids, and like they all wear like these like prairie dresses, and they
like Latter-day Saints.
yeah, they're like Latter-day Saints, and they like they
Now
like farm the land,
speaking
and
of like PC,
the older children parent the younger children, and they're all homeschooled, blah blah blah.
This is where I get frustrated.
Don't even open that can of worms.
Like horrifying.
Horrifying. Not allowed to cry or have emotions in your house.
Like, do you really need to know what Zemoglyphosate 8 is? Or
oh, Jessica.
Everyone has a favorite. Everyone does. So Rick's out of town, and I'm single parenting, which is fine. It's
so
fun.
fun.
So fun. And I walk into school, and of course, like on recording days, especially, I'm like, the school can't call because like, what are we doing?
No.
And right when we walk into the like little front office, Rose is like hacking up a lung, like tighten it the fuck up, and then both of like the office lady and some other not random, very nice, like whatever woman was like, oh, I was like, he's just milking it. It's for he wants attention. It's like maybe I should just fucking homeschool him.
Yeah.
Speaking of homeschooling, that's what we're going to talk about today. Lauren, start us off with some trend stats and facts.
Okay. I have like 4 million papers around me.
But this is so good. You're so prepared.
So prepared today, which is, the new me. Okay. So from, so 2022 to 2023 school year, 6% of all school-aged kids nationwide were homeschooled, and that was up from 2.8% in 2019.
Well, I blacked out. What was the first? What's the most recent percentage?
6%.
And what was it in 19?
2.8.
Oh, wow.
So pretty big jump.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Louisiana, where we live, is one of 3 states that the homeschooling population has continued to grow since the pandemic and has not like declined at all.
I mean, feels right.
Yeah.
But yeah. So why do you think it's growing though?
Okay. Well, so I think that there's a lot of reasons. I was kind of in the camp for a long time, seeing homeschool kids come into my practice and like the challenges that they deal with, which were usually social emotional anxiety. Yeah. Okay.
And like, or like peer
relational issues. Yeah. Yes. I was in the camp of like, parents were doing this because they were wanting to shelter their kids from whatever they would be exposed to at school. Mm-hmm. And then the unfortunate consequence of that is that these kids are also sheltered from like normal developmental experiences, right? Yep. Right? Resulting in a lot of anxiety, especially social anxiety.
Yep.
I think that recently I have seen more and more families that are pushed into this because they are left with no other options.
What do you mean?
So kids who have been expelled from multiple schools. Mm-hmm. I see a lot, like there's a certain group of kids that I see that I find unfortunately has a hard time fitting in anywhere. Like really, really bright kids with autism.
Yeah. Okay, so like high functioning.
Super high functioning autistic kids. There's not a good place for them, you know, in the world. It's like if they're in a public school and they're getting special ed services, then they're not getting a lot of times like the academic challenge that they need, you know? If they're in the academically challenging classes with like the other gifted kids, then they might not be getting the accommodations that they need. So I keep seeing that over and over again, like that profile of a kid who just like can't cut it in a traditional school. And the parents, you know, never had any intention of homeschooling them. And then they just are kind of like pushed to that point and they don't have any other options.
So like, why is that profile getting expelled or like can't cut it or whatever?
So I think part of the problem is like there's not a place for them, right? That they don't fit into any of the boxes, okay? And so nobody knows what are the appropriate expectations for those kids in a school.
Yep.
And so then if there's no clear expectations or if there's unrealistic expectations, then you just set the kid up for failure.
But what's the kid do? Like, what are they doing behavior-wise?
Like I've had several kids who were expelled for saying or doing things that I can see are like, okay, well, that's probably related to their autism.
Yeah, got it.
But it's, offensive to people.
Yeah.
Or scares people or makes people feel threatened, and so they get expelled.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you think there has been a rise, or that percentage is also due to COVID?
The percentage of homeschooled kids?
Yeah.
I think that was like the first time where a larger group of people was obviously exposed to homeschooling environment that had never even thought about it, right? And then there were a lot of kids who desperately wanted to go back to traditional school and they hated virtual school.
Yeah.
But then I think there was a lot of families that were like, actually, we see some perks to this.
Yeah. And I feel like it's also, I saw, it was like kids, autism was one of the, I guess, thematic things when I was working in a charter school. Post-COVID, where everyone was trying to transition back. And I think they had, parents had the option to keep doing virtual or put them back in person. And a lot of the kids that struggled in person were thriving virtually. Yeah. And those were kids with exceptionalities is what I found. And then, so I'm not going to lie. I don't fucking know. You told me, or research, whatever, shows that politicians are more likely to homeschool their kids. Why? Why?
Did I show you that? I think somebody else put that in there.
Oh, someone else put that in there. Well,
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Oh.
I have no idea why that is or where that statistic came from. I have no idea. What I did see was, thank you for whoever put that in there because I was not able to verify that fact. But thank you for that fact. It's interesting. I can't wait to read more about it.
Yeah.
What I did see was that the reasons that, when they do these surveys of huge surveys of the population asking why people homeschool, the reasons are so much more varied than what I was expecting.
Okay.
I think we kind of have this image of 19 kids and counting. Did you ever see that show?
Mm-mm.
It's that massive Mormon family that had 19 kids and they all wear these prairie dresses and
Latter-day Saints.
Yeah, they're like Latter-day Saints and they farm the land and
PC,
the older children parent the younger children and they're all homeschooled, blah, blah, blah. And I think we kind of have this image of those are the people who homeschool, right? They're evangelical Christians and they're trying to shelter their children from the world. And now I'm starting to realize, maybe that's not the whole picture.
Right.
There's a lot of people who do this for very different reasons than that. I was reading this one parent said, they had never thought about homeschooling their kids until COVID. And then were forced to do it.
Right.
And then realized, my kids have so much more time for hobbies and extracurriculars, but also family time, because a lot of times nowadays kids are having to do either or. It's you're either in a sport or you have family time. You can't do both, right? The other thing that he cited that I have to say I agree with is that and he has teenage kids. This parent who was decided to homeschool after the pandemic had ended. Was that his kids are able to sleep later. Which we all know, there's so much data on how the times that we expect kids to be in school are very incongruent with normal development and when they should be sleeping, right? Which ends up causing all these downstream effects, effects on hormones and brain development, et cetera.
What do you mean though?
Okay, so once
it depends on what time you put them down or they go to bed at night.
No.
Nope. What do you mean?
No. Okay. No. And I'm not talking about little kids. I'm talking about pre-adolescent, adolescent children. Okay.
What's a bad time for them?
So hormonally, they are supposed to be, this is the one age group that goes to bed the latest and wakes up the latest. Okay. Compared to younger children compared to adults. Okay. So they hormonally are primed to go to bed late, 11, 12 p.m. and wake up at 8, 9 p.m. Okay, that's what they're supposed to do out in the wild. If we lived as cave people out in the wild. Okay,
Rick would just love that statement.
Also, they are supposed to have more hours of sleep than most other age groups.
I knew that.
Okay?
I knew that.
However, we have forced them onto this adult schedule where they have to wake up at 6 and be at school for a lot of schools start at 7 or 7:15, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Right? And they can't, a lot of them can't get on that schedule. So then they just end up sleeping fewer hours per night. Right? So they're like chronically, you know,
Fatigued.
insomniacs and like fatigued, right? And then it has all this like effect on brain development. So anyway, so this parent was saying like, now my kids get to sleep until a reasonable time, and I feel like that's better for their brain health. You know? So I think it's just the reasons are more varied than I expected. Now that I'm looking more into it.
I mean, how expensive is it to homeschool?
I mean, it depends. It's like, are you hiring a private tutor? Like, that's expensive.
Yeah.
Are you doing virtual learning from home? That can be pretty cheap because you can do it through like the public school system. Are you doing like a homeschool co-op where you're sharing a teacher with a group of other families, right? So like that's one way to divide up the cost. They actually, wait, there was like, actually now that you're saying that, there was a statistic I found about cost. And now I'm going to need a minute to find it. But it was like, oh, here we go.
Oh, that was fast.
Nope, I lied. That's not it. I'll find it in a minute. Okay. But it was saying how, you know, how expensive it is to educate. Here we go. Nope, sorry, never mind. How expensive it is to educate a kid in the public school system, and how like a lot of homeschooling families end up saving taxpayer dollars. And by the way, none of this is to say that I'm like pro homeschool and that like I'm going to homeschool my own children.
Well, if you had a choice and had like unlimited money and time, what would you do?
I think it depends on I have 2 kids that I think belong in a traditional school and thrive.
Yeah.
I have 1 kid that I'm not so sure.
So what would you do if you had all unlimited resources, money, time, perfect, whatever, like miracle question? Would you homeschool that one child?
I might.
Okay. Pitfalls. What are potential pitfalls?
So I think if you only have them at home and it's only virtual learning and they don't have any extracurriculars, that's awesome. That's a recipe for disaster.
Okay,
right?
why?
Because they're not getting the experience with peers. Okay. So they're losing out on the social and emotional development piece, okay, which is so important. All right.
Yeah.
However, if you do like a homeschool co-op where they are around other kids and then you have them in a lot of extracurriculars and you're part of like a homeschool group that meets up every now and then, or, you know, a lot of these groups meet up like once a week or twice a week or something, then maybe it's not so bad.
What's the, like when you say co-op or like how many kids are in the group?
I mean, it depends. It depends. Like you can have like a six child group, you know, or like 5 families. I mean, I think that can vary a lot.
Yeah. I mean, what if, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm thinking of the kid who like is a little low, like has like intellectual disability, like mild or moderate, and is a part of like a low socioeconomic, whatever population, and like receives a lot of services at school, but would benefit probably from homeschooling. Like how would that work? And like how realistic, and like who's supervising the kids? That's another thing. Yeah. Like, do you have to be home all day watching them if they're home, like at home learning? Like, how does that even work?
I mean, I think that depends, right? Like, so if it's like a kid at home with you and you're the teacher, yeah, you got to be at home. If it's a kid who's in a homeschool co-op where they're like going somewhere.
But I feel like it's hard to find a co-op. Like, I mean, do you think it would be here? Like, okay,
I don't know.
Let's say that you were like, set back to that same example. Like, I want to homeschool this kid. How difficult do you think it would be to find like other families with a kid the same age, learning style, whatever? How difficult do you think it would be to find like-minded individuals that would want to like do a co-op?
I think it depends on where you live.
Well,
you know?
But like here.
I think that there's more people here that do it than you think. But like we're not exposed to those people, you know? Like we don't know I don't know those people. Like I see them on occasion come into my practice. But I don't know them personally. I don't know a single person that homeschools their kids. But that's because I'm not around those people.
Where are they?
I don't know. They're friends with other people who homeschool their kids, probably, right?
So then, like, let's say I was like, I'm going to homeschool one of mine. Like, how would I even go about, like, navigating that system?
I think what's hard is that it's like a totally different way of thinking, right? That like we don't know, right? Like we have I don't know either. No fucking clue. I mean, I know that I've heard parents talk about certain programs that their kids have used for homeschooling, curriculums.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for. But I also feel like that's only a tiny piece of it. That, you can do like a structured curriculum that you can probably find on Google. I don't know,
Yeah.
Or I think there's a lot of families that don't do a structured curriculum like that,
Yeah. I mean, I think there are pros and cons, obviously. I mean, things that poke out in my head are like, if a kid is homeschooled, and they live in a household where there's abuse, like it increases the risk of like more abuse, more trauma. If a kid is diagnosed with autism, ADHD, whatever, and they receive like meds at school because the parents like aren't consistent with it or don't remember, like then that like med gap, increases. If the kid gets expelled because of behaviors and they're like forced into a homeschooling situation, then, I mean, they're just not receiving services. So obviously there are pros and cons to each. I don't know that I would do it. I don't know.
So I can say that I was like the most judgmental person of homeschooling until maybe a year ago. Like so judgmental. As a child psychiatrist, I was like, this is not good for kids. I don't care what you say. Like this is just a recipe for an awkward, socially, anxious child. And it's only once my own child and it's not my first child. My first child still believe that, right? Like he thrives in a traditional school, It's only until I had a kid that, has had challenges everywhere in every system he has been in that I've started to think, and it's not even like I'm saying I'm going to homeschool.
He's only been,
every freaking camp he's ever been in, he's been in 3 schools. Okay. He's been in 3 schools.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've ever even like thought about that. And I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but it's like the first time I've even like questioned it,
What do you think would change though?
I think that he probably would do well with one-on-one learning. And like now we're looking at like he might have a learning disability,
Oh.
Yeah. I haven't even gotten into that yet.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Like we think he might. Yeah. And so like that's.
But like, would you teach it? You can't teach him.
No. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm going to do it.
But I know, but this is a good example of like there are 1,000 yous. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, every kid would be fucking better one-on-one running. You know what I mean? Learning. Yeah. But it's like, how do you execute that? You work more than full time, and you have 2 other kids.
No fucking clue.
Then it's like, okay, hire a tutor. I don't know. It's just like so complicated. Like there's like everything needs to be. It's like, like this co-op-y thing sounds like the best, I guess, homeschooling option. I am not for one-on-one. Like, I don't even like really buy into a co-op unless the child is so, if their behaviors are such a barrier to learning and interacting with their world, I just like, I'm not for it.
Okay, listen to this.
Okay, here we go.
This was pretty interesting. So this is from the National Center for Educational Statistics. Okay. Sounds very official.
Is that a .org?
Yes, this is a .org. Okay. Okay, so let's see.
You probably can't see your face. Reasons go with all those papers.
I'm sorry. I know I have a lot of papers, but I can't memorize this shit. So, all right. So it talks about reasons why. Okay. Oh shit, this isn't it. All right, keep talking. Fuck.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think life is not like, let me accommodate to like, it's so, you can't accommodate like that in real life. Like I'm not set. Like there are also programs, like here especially, like Therapeutic Learning Center, who has like little, like you can do a half day there. Like if your kid is struggling with peer interactions or just impulse control and stuff like that, they can go to like a half day program and do like half day there to focus on those behaviors that are barriers to interacting in the classroom, meeting expectations, learning, all of that stuff. And you can kind of like mix and mingle, like do a couple days in this program and then a couple days in like your typical academic setting. I think it's more beneficial to have like a one-on-one push into the classroom so that they can learn how to interact in their world with their peers in a typical setting with someone there in that setting. And I've heard from teachers and educators that that's like chef's kiss more ideal.
Okay, here's the thing. It's not right for every kid, right? Clearly, it's not right for every kid. I do think there is a group of kids that sometimes it is the best option. And so that I think that's where my mind has changed, is that like I used to think that this was not good for any kid.
Yeah.
And now
I agree.
I'm starting to think
small percentage.
Maybe there are some kids that this is better for. Okay, I finally found my statistics.
Okay, great.
Whew. Okay. So this is from, I don't know, it's something important. Don't worry, guys. Okay. 2015 study found that Black homeschool students scored 23 to 42% percentile points above Black public school students.
Go ahead.
Home educated typically score 15 to 25 percentile points above public school students on standardized academic achievement tests. 78% of peer-reviewed studies on academic achievement show that homeschool students perform statistically significantly better than those in institutional schools. Homeschool students score above average on achievement tests regardless of their parents' level of education or their family's household income. And home-educated students typically score above average on SAT and ACT, which that I don't really give a shit about because I think those are bullshit tests.
Group that control whatever the thing is called, like male, female, what was their socioeconomic status, where do they live, like were their parents home, like what, I think there are a lot of factors that go, like is homeschooling is why they like scored that percentage higher than Black kids in a public school. I don't think it's that simple. I think it's so multifaceted. And then Mac just asked, why, Jessica, you don't want to be a teacher? Humor here.
Because she's not a teacher. Because she's a mental health professional.
Money. That's why. They ain't paid.
Well, and like you can want to work with kids but not want to be a teacher.
I mean, I would love to be a teacher if I could make my own hours and teach what I want to teach in the way I want to teach.
Okay, this was really interesting, Jessica. This kind of like threw me for a loop, and I was like, I need to go read this study. Okay. Research facts on homeschooling show that the home educated are doing well, typically above average, on measures of social, emotional, and psychological development. Research measures include peer interaction, self-concept, leadership skills, family cohesion, participation in community service, and self-esteem. 87% of peer-reviewed studies on social, emotional, and psychological development show that homeschool students perform statistically significantly better than those in conventional schools. I was like,
I mean, yeah, because they're getting one-on-one.
May suffer less harm, abuse, neglect, fatalities than in conventional schools. I don't know. No, adults who are home educated are more politically tolerant than the public schooled in the limited research done so far.
Okay, but what's that word? It's not equal. It's equity.
This one.
I don't want to forget.
You ready for this one?
Wrap it up. Go ahead.
It's not equality. It's equity that matters.
That's the difference?
Yes.
Like it's the everyone has the same opportunity, right? Is equity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You don't get exactly the same things.
Yeah.
You get, yes, correct. Some think that boys' energetic natures and tendency to physical expression can be more easily accommodated in a home-based education. Many are concerned that a highly disproportionate number of public school special education students are boys, and that boys are 2 to 10 times more likely than girls in public schools to be diagnosed with ADHD.
Duh, I agree with that. What this is my last like soapbox.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, everybody would learn better one-on-one,
right.
Like whatever.
Right.
It's not equitable. Like not everyone can homeschool.
Correct.
And like, so I just think that discrepancy can like cause harm in a community and like I don't know.
But you don't think, like, if you can do it and your kid really needs it, you don't think you should do it?
If they need it. But also, and this is the last thing, I may be pro, like, what am I trying to say? Like, collaborating, like mixing and mingling it. Like, maybe one day you do homeschool and one day you do hybrid, exactly. Yeah. Or, like, maybe you do a semester homeschool and then you slowly integrate back into a school system. I just don't think, like, grade 3 through 12, like, homeschool complete. All right, takeaways. It sounds like they score better if they're homeschooled. Our kids have more opportunity to, like, sleep because they need that for brain development, and naturally they're supposed to go to bed later and wake up later. And they are now. Boys may benefit from homeschooling not more than girls, but, like, I mean, I feel like this is, like, very male.
It may be a better fit for them than a conventional school.
Yeah. Just because of where they are. Well, it depends on the age. But
younger boys.
Yep. And that maybe that I feel like with mental health professionals across the board, it's like that fear of the lack of peer exposure, lack of social emotional is kind of a misconception. And if they homeschool, like, if you homeschool, then that gap is going to grow as it relates to peer interactions and stuff. And that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, it's not so black and white.
Yeah, like, you can do co-ops, you can get them into more extracurriculars. Like, the school day is probably shorter. So, like, there's more opportunity. And I'm still not pro homeschool.
And I still hate it.
All right. Lauren.
Yes, Jessica.
Can't wait to get updated on one of yours and to see, like, maybe there's a co-op
and my new life of homeschooling and sailing around the world.
Sailing.
And, seeing all the places. And he's going to be like a professional tennis player in 2 years.
Oh, maybe. Oh, he would be really cute. Has he ever played tennis?
Yeah.
Is he good?
He's not the best at organized sports. I'll just say that. We'll end
Really?
with that.
What about, like, hand-eye? Golf?
He's
Has
not
he
great.
tried golf?
Yeah, he's not great with golf.
That's too slow for him.
He's probably like a
Football.
jiu-jitsu kind of guy, or like swimming or something.
Soccer?
He was great at soccer. He's really good at soccer.
He's so cute in that soccer.
He's really good at soccer.
Like, the hair.
Uh-huh.
I'm, like, worried about him. Like, he doesn't even know. He's so cute. Woo!
I know.
Okay.
It's dangerous.
All right. See ya.
Bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Little Brain Campaign.
Please like, subscribe, and follow.
See you next time.